Hey guys, so we're going to have another video here, a quiet time video, and today's passage is from Genesis chapter 11 verses 1 all the way to verse 9, and this is the fantastic story of the Tower of Babel. Now, I'll read this passage out to you guys and we'll walk through it really quickly. Verse 1 says, "Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and settled there. And they said to one another, 'Come, let us make bricks, and burn them thoroughly.' And they had brick for stone, and bitumen for mortar. And they said, 'Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower, with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth.' And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, 'Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do, and nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them.' Verse 7, 'Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech.' So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the people. And from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of all the earth." So this is a passage where I believe God is demonstrating his power over people that are taking matters into their own hands. Let's break this down and let's see how this unfolds itself. I believe the setting of this passage is in verses 1 and 2, where we're given an idea that the people have congregated over the land of Shinar together. Now, in verses 3 and 4, this is the beginning of the problem. They come out with the idea of, hey, let's build a tower. Let us build a city around it, and let's do this for ourselves so that we don't get dispersed away from where we're at right now. And verses 5 and 6 creates the tension in the problem where God is now looking at them doing this and realizing that this is going to be an issue. And the tension, I think, is what is God going to do about it? How is he going to handle the situation? We already know in verses 5 and 6 there's a huge warning that nothing will be impossible for man if they do this. Verse 7 is the solution to the problem, where he says, "I will scramble their languages and they will be dispersed because of that." In verse 8 and 9 we see the naming of the Tower of Babel, because they have been confused in their language and they are forced to be spread out over all the earth. Now, what is the issue being raised, I think, in verses 1 through 9? And I think the issue that is being raised is the difference between when we do things for God or we do things for ourselves. Verses 3 and 4 is a very crisp, clear example of people who take matters in their own hands and look away from God. And what we learn about God is that God is not going to stand idly by and watch them do this. He is going to step into the situation. And verse 7 shows us that he's going to scramble their languages so that they're forced to trust each other in their scattered state, but also have a greater dependence upon him. Now, when I read this passage as a kid, I started thinking to myself, man, that's mean. I mean, they were trying to just mind their own business in verse 3 to 4. They were just trying to do their own thing, and God had to come in and mix up and mess up the works. But God is hoping that people realize that this is not about them, it's about him, and it's about others. And they fail to realize this. If you read the book, The Purpose-Driven Life, the first line states, it's not about you. It's about him. On top of that, the people have a problem in seeing that for their own walk with God. And I really have to bring this down to my own life and ask myself, do I realize this? Do I realize that it's not about me? It's about Him. It's about what He is doing. And anything that really honestly, as a child of God, makes me trust in my own strength instead of His strength is going to be taken away from me. We see this in the life of Christ, right? We see Christ constantly talking to the Father, and especially in the last prayer that He makes in the garden, He says, not my will be done, but your will be done. We realize that Christ is living for the Father. And I think the challenge that I bring in my own life in application according to this passage is I should never ever lose my appreciation for what God has given to me. I should stop complaining. I should stop making excuses. I should stop whining. I should stop saying to myself, Lord, you simply do not give me what I think you should. And in so doing, there's that temptation when you're thinking like that to take matters in your own hands and make things the way you think they should be, when in reality God is waiting for you to realize and appreciate how much He has already given. This could mean in your family, you appreciate the members of your family. Just take time after this video to thank God for every single person. It might mean in your job that you are thankful for your responsibility, no matter how small or menial it might seem sometimes. It might mean in your church that you are just thankful for the number of people who go and the people that you have been blessed to be in the presence of. Instead of taking matters in your own hands and trying to fix the situation by yourself, by your own strength, and not for God, or by your own interests and not for God's interest, you know, the clear sign that you're doing things for yourself and not for God is that you respond when things don't work out the way you want them to with anger, disappointment, fear, and you quit. Nah, let's do the positive. Let us remain constantly thankful for the things and the people that God has given us. Make Christ everything in your life, and see you next time. Bye-bye.